This video is sponsored by Shebop. Shebop is a woman-owned sex toy boutique for everybody, specializing in body-safe products and education. Visit sheboptheshop.com to shop online or take classes.
Earlier tonight, we were all talking about how we all identify with the precepts of sex positivity, but I think that we all also have different thoughts about what it means to us individually. And I think it's worth diving into that, what each individual person thinks of being sex positive and how they envision what a sex positive world looks like. What are we all working towards? So I'd love to get deeper into that with everybody that's joining us tonight. Sampson, I'd love to start with you. What does sex positivity mean to you, and how do you see your ideal sex positive future? What is life like in a sex positive world in Sampson McCormick's head?
Sex positivity is freedom to be a hoe, is what it is. Okay. We hear the word hoe and we think that that's a bad word, but I mean, it's really a fun word. I mean, I equate all positive things to the word hoe, like the hoes are winning, that sort of thing. I've never had an issue with hoes. So, I mean, we live in a world though that demonizes people who are hoes, and now we call that slut shaming. And so I think that in a more sex positive world, I think that comes with a time where we'll be able to have conversations about how people really have sex, how people really engage, because especially if you grew up in a church, I think a lot of us, we think that everybody is sexually conservative because that's what we're taught to be. And so we kind of are surprised when we find out that most people aren't. And I'm like, well, the pastor is sleeping with 3 of the people in the church. So that's proof right there. I mean, the proof is always in front of us.
Reba, can I ask you to respond?
Certainly. I'm going to go with, based on what Sampson said, yes, and I think I agree with what he said. And I also think that sex positivity just means acceptance of anybody's sexual proclivities or lack thereof. I know I've been in situations where people were pushing other people to be, they think that sex positive means like, you're all about sex all the time. And really, I think sex positivity is however you feel about sex in that moment is cool. It's really about like the acceptance of it. And so, that also falls in line with, maybe an asexual person who isn't interested in having intercourse at that time, or ever, and being okay with that, them being okay with it and everyone else around them being okay with their individual relationship with sex. And so maybe that's what it is for me, is sex positivity is everyone has their own individual relationship with sex, whether it's having sex or not having sex, and that everything is okay, like that there's no stigma around it, there's no shame around it, that we can talk about our fetishes. That's one of my biggest sticking points, I guess, is that, people just think that, oh gosh, nobody has the fetish that I have. It's so embarrassing. I can never tell you. Well, if not everybody has a fetish, but people certainly have things that they favor and are ashamed of it. And they think it's weird and all these things. And if everybody has those things, then nobody's weird. And I think that's the point. Like if everyone has a relationship with sex, everyone has a relationship with sex and none of it's weird.
Yeah. Please.
To bite off what Reba said, I 100% agree. A sex positive future to me is a safe sex future, where that means we're talking about consent. That means we're talking about, because everyone goes through a sexual journey, whether you choose to have sex or you choose not to have sex. That decision to not have sex is a journey itself. If you're asexual and you're like, what's going on? What's wrong with me, et cetera, that is a journey and it's a stressful one. So when we have an environment where you can safely explore that journey, you've just created, you've created such a space that allows people to explore their sexuality, their fetishes, their kinks, and whether they choose to have sex or not, and all while practicing consent. I mean, I think that is the form of safe sex, being practicing consent, respecting boundaries, understanding that we all are entitled to a sexual journey, a sexual enlightenment, and it should be provided to us without the fear of being hurt or abused or mishandled. And when I think of a sex positive future, I think mostly of that everyone can comfortably explore their identities.